to put some insights, recording, and the slides if they are used during the session. So you will find the recording there. Right, so I think we can get started. We'll have some more people joining through the session, but let's start. Welcome, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. It's great you have all taken the time to be part of this conversation. Today, we're very excited to have Asgard Lindholm with us. Asgard, thank you so much for being here with us. Today, we're kind of a big group. You will see more people will join. So let me briefly introduce who we are for those of you who are newer to the community. So NOVA is a global professional network that connects highly ambitious and talented professionals among industries and countries. And what makes our community so special is that, as you know, we have all gone through a merit-based selection process, which means that we are surrounded by people who are not only accomplished, but deeply committed to learning, growing, and supporting each other along the way. And these sessions are exactly about that, about creating spaces where we can share our knowledge, critical, challenge our thinking, and keep evolving as humans, as leaders, as professionals. So today's speaker brings a background that may surprise you a little bit. He holds a master in chemical engineering, a PhD in ship coding, and has spent several years in the oil and gas industry. He was technically excellent, and he will tell us about it, but he was at the same time like completely miserable until he found his mission. He took the leap and he built a career helping Denmark-based professionals communicate like the leaders they already are. So today, Asgard is a trainer and a coach at MB and Partners, a firm trusted among engineering companies, startups, and universities. And what sets MB and Partners apart is that they are able to translate well-established research into practical tools that people can use the very next day. And they are able to do that because they have faced the same problems and challenges as their clients. So Asgard, is truly, truly a pleasure to have you with us, to learn from your insights and have the opportunity to listen to your experience. So without further delay, please help me welcome in Asgard. And yep, Asgard, the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Lucia, and thank you to all of you. My name is Asgard Lindholm, and I'm so excited to be here for a lot of different reasons. One is, I'm amongst people who are ambitious, who really want to thrive, and I love being with those sort of people. I know a little bit about the Nova Talent. I joined one event and really met some interesting people. So that's one reason. Now, the other reason is today we're going to dive into something that I believe is incredibly important, maybe more important than anything else. It's the number one skill that you must master in order to have success in your business life, but also in your private life. Because think about it, today, it's never been easier to get your message out there, but it's also never been harder to make anyone care about it. We have AI today. You can throw out so many things. You can have systems that can send out emails, produce videos, but the struggle is, how do you connect with people? How do you make them care for you? And if you just think about your everyday work life, who do you go to for help if you need assistance? Do you go to the person who's the top expert, but you don't get along that well with that person? Or do you go to the person you really get along well with, but maybe he's not the best, but he's just good or pretty good? I mean, and I would say pretty one, everyone else I've met, you go to the one you get along well with. And sometimes it's just one piece of advice as well that can change everything. So today we're going to talk about how to connect with people, how to communicate, and really make a difference. I know we have all the tech out there, but at the end of the day, we are still human beings, and we got to connect. And I see you, Adam. You are nodding here. So this is what we're going to do. I mean, it's just an hour. So first, you're going to get a little bit of my story. Hopefully, it's relevant for you as well. And then I'm going to give you a couple of tools for how to communicate more effectively and connect with people. And then we're going to have a Q&A in the end. So you get to ask your questions. If you hang around here, this is what I usually charge money for. But I would love to have your questions and really get a nice dialogue. And we can then all learn from each other, not just from what I'm giving to you. But you talked a little bit about it, Lucia, a little bit about my story. And I remember back in the days when I was at university, I was doing my PhD. And then it's finally the day. I'm sitting in that airplane, the SAS, as we call it here, and I'm looking into the next seat. And the minds are going through my mind, or the thoughts are going through my mind. Will they even care the slightest bit about my presentation when I go to Singapore? Do I have too many slides? Do I have too few slides? And can I even handle the pressure of doing that scientific presentation? See, I was on my way to Singapore to give a scientific presentation. It's an important part of doing your PhD. And yeah, I was very nervous. And finally, it's the days, after 3 days, I was sweating, not just because of the heat in Singapore, but also the pressure for me. That was a big thing. So it sounds, hey, please welcome our next speaker, Mr. Asger Lindholm from Denmark. It's a little clap. And I get up on stage and I go, hi, it's Asger here from Denmark, DTU. Pleasure to be here, excited. And as I look out on the audience, I see the people were excited, enthusiastic. But then I also see, after I did my introduction, that this guy's like, oh no, this is going to be one of those other boring, predictable presentations. And as time went by, I saw more and more computer screens open up, and I got to see the bottom of more and more people's heads, right? And I'm like thinking, wow, that's a pity, man. They come to Singapore, traveling all over the world to come do their email or whatever they were doing. And all of a sudden, I think things can't get even worse. I hear this sound. It's third row, man. And I put someone to sleep, literally to sleep. And see, I was going home that night, and that flight was 12 hours long. But I kid you not, it felt like a lifetime. And I probably found 1,000 different ways to say, that sucked, that was bad, that was terrible. But then kind of by the end of the journey, by the end of the trip, I just thought, there were some people that were really good at that just really captivated people. And to be honest, there were also a few other people like me, with wall of text, looking, and you just saw their back talking to the slides like there weren't anybody in the room. So I thought, maybe I should learn a little bit about this. So I joined a course here in Denmark at the Engineering Association, which I'm part of, because my training is within engineering. And I discovered, wow, there's so much more to that. That's really interesting. And I started exploring, how do you get good at something? Now, I didn't believe in myself because I grew up in a family where, you're not big storytellers. I grew up, my mom's a dentist. My dad was a chemistry teacher. So we weren't like big talkers. So I didn't think this was even possible. But anyway, I joined a club called Toastmasters, like a free organization. You can go and you don't pay a lot. You get a little bit of advice. And so I went there for a few years and trying to get better. But I thought, hey, man, I reached a certain level. I was decent, but nothing, out of the ordinary to take money from. But then what I thought, that was someone really good. He was actually a semi-professional speaker already. So what I did was I started thinking about, how do you network with people? How do you, kind of like you're doing here in Novotelling. So I had a couple of friends over, and I invited him over as well, with my good friends. And it started a long friendship, and he became my mentor as well. And then I started seeing, hey, there's a technique, there are methods to do this. It just means you can learn this. If you don't know how to do it, all you got to do is learn the system and practice and get good at it. So what I want to give you here in the next, 30, 40 minutes, however much time I'm doing the presentation, is some of those tools that you can use. So if you're sitting there with a dream that you want to change, you can change. It's just about finding the system, finding the method. Maybe you're in a place you really enjoy, that you really like, but maybe you also feel, hey, I'm stuck a little bit to the next level. Of course you can get there. It's just about finding the right mentor, finding the right techniques. So everything I would say is possible. Not to do every single thing, but if you focus on one thing or two things, you can get really good at that. You can't get good at 1,000 things because there's only that much time and energy in the day, right? So, but if you put your mind to one or two things, you can get good at that. But today's session is really about how do you get good at speaking, connecting with people. So I've developed a little framework. I'm just going to do the short version of it. I call it ABCDEF, and let's see how many letters we kind of get through. So the A stands for anxiety. When you are presenting, most people get nervous. Now that is completely normal. You are in front of a lot of people, and your instinctive brain is going to be thinking, hey, I'm presenting to whatever, 20 people, 30 people, or even 10. Your brain is thinking, hey, if they attack me, I would have no chance. That's your instinctive brain, because it's an uncertain situation. But there's a lot of things you can do. And I want to give you a couple of tools, a few practical tools, and one method that can change your mindset. Now, the basics, which a lot of people actually don't do, is just really practice your talk. Know it so well that you know it's going to come to you, even when you're nervous. Like when I ask people, oh, have you practiced? Oh, yeah, I kind of ran it through my mind one or twice, Oh, yeah, I looked at the slides. No, man, you got to get up in that living room, speak it out several times. When I'm doing a new talk, it's so demanding. And then, my wife comes home and like, why are you so tired? You weren't at a workshop today. Well, I did 3 runs on my next talk, and it's almost just as energy draining doing that. So really putting time and effort aside to practice speaking it loud. Something happens in the brain when you do that. And then really prepare well. If you can get to know the room before, or just know a few people, you can connect with them on LinkedIn, maybe sneak peek or ask the person there. You can do that. But there's one mindset you can also do, which is if you think about, if you're on a roller coaster, most people, they think it's fun being on a roller coaster, but you get that adrenaline going. You get excited, right? Why do you get excited? You get excited because there's speed, there's all these sort of things going on. But you also know in your mind, you can think this is safe. It's a very, very little chance that you're actually going to be hurt when you're on a roller coaster. Now, imagine the same scenario. You're on the highway and someone else is driving recklessly, really fast. You still get that adrenaline rush, but your thoughts know this is dangerous. And those situations are actually very similar. The big difference is your thought. And I didn't believe this the first time I heard this, that was even possible to do. But if instead of thinking about how scared you are, how nervous you are, it's called reappraisal theory. There's a lot of good science behind this. You think about, hey, I'm excited for this. This is going to be fun. And maybe you don't believe it 100% in the beginning, but trust me, it will come. And you don't even have to spend hours doing it. It's just 1 or 2 minutes. Hey, this is going to be fun. I bet there's going to be a lot of nice people. It's going to be a great experience. And they're going to learn a lot from me. And even if they don't, I'm just going to have a great time meeting them. So turning the anxiety into excitement with your thoughts is going to make it so much easier. And then getting the basics like practicing. So that's the first thing I want to give you, anxiety. Get that taken care of. And let's be honest, if you're doing your first talk, 5, 10 talks, let's say, it's all about survival. It's about getting through it. Now, when you're number 100, hopefully it's something different, but it does take a little bit of time because you get that safety. You think, things will go well. And even if they shouldn't go well, that's also okay. Life continues. There are actually no problems in life. They're just people and circumstances. And even if your talk doesn't go well, there's always going to be another chance for those that are willing to get up there and try it out. So A, for anxiety. Now the next one is, of course, B, which is build your talk. Now, most people do the wrong thing. They go straight to PowerPoint. Hey, let me build a lot of slides. And then when they've kind of done that, then they think they're done. No, that's the wrong way. It's kind of like you're trying to build a house without drawings, without even thinking about how things should be put together and what you need. What are you really trying to address? So the first thing you got to think about when you build your talk, it's not about you. It's about them. So you think, what is important to them? What would they need right now? What would be relevant? What would be important to them? Then, of course, the next step is how can you give them some of that you have with your expertise? There should be some sort of overlap. What do they need? What can you give them? right? Sometimes, if it's in a conversation, it's giving advice, but maybe sometimes it's not giving advice. It is simply being a good listener and saying, wow, that must have been hard. Wow, what did you do then? Really just being a good listener and asking and being empathetic with that person. So thinking about the need, how to build. So step one, when you build your talk, is really to get to know your audience. And for that, I say you got to go through different steps. Now, the first step is getting to know the numbers. If you imagine a compass, right? North, the numbers, like how many are they going to be there? What's their educational level? Is it primarily women, men? Yes, we are different. So you get what's the age group and so forth. How many is going to be there? So really get to know those basic numbers. Is it at the end of the day, or is it right after lunch? Is it in the morning? The energy is different throughout the day. So there's never going to be one talk that's the same. And number two is the E. If you imagine that compass, it stands for emotions. Where are they at emotionally, right? So I used to be a high school teacher as well. That was how I transitioned, right? So is it at the end of the day and they're like the first week, all they want to do is be with their friends, get to know people. They're so tired because they're building new relationships, right? It's the same. Do I step out in a company and give a talk and they just have people laid off? And I'm like, hey, go happy lucky, man, or maybe I'm not matching that vibe that's there, or they're just a new startup that's going really well. Hey, man, let's go. Let's kick it off. So you got to match that energy. Or, for instance, a lot of people, if you also imagine a scenario, sometimes I hear this, there's a new strategy from management and people are just like, oh, here we go again, right? They're just tired of that. So you got to meet that energy they have. And so you can feel, and maybe you can do it in your talk and say, I know it's the third time we're coming with a new strategy. But just to calm you down, we're not making any major changes. Like 80-90% of what you're doing today, continue to do that. And they're like, oh, thank God, someone understands me. So think about where they're at emotionally. So you really get to know the people. Now, the next step in building your talk is to struggle. And there are different layers of struggle. So the struggle, they know that people are willing to share. So if I have a talk with some, if I'm a sales call, they open up and say, oh yeah, we'd like to get a little bit better at that. That's where they share that. But then there's also a struggle that people sometimes have. They don't share, they have. They don't share right away. One of the topics I work on is psychological safety. So if I'm at a good sales call, it's not the first thing they're going to be like, yeah, we would love to have more psychological safety here. Some do. But a lot of people, you got to, talk and all of a sudden, oh, yeah, we had this leader, a month ago that was just like really, it's just terrible to his department. Oh, yeah. So the struggle, they know they have, but they don't admit right away, at least. So we all have our different layers of that. Your job is to figure out what could that potentially be. There are different ways you can do that, obviously. You can do it through your expertise because you know the people, but you could also be good if you interview some of the participants or the organizer or the group of people you talk to. So that's there's a deeper level. Now there's an even deeper layer that is giving them the advice they don't know that they need. So for instance, in my business, a lot of people come to me and say, hey, Asker, I would love to learn a lot about body language and voice. I can give you that. I can tell you how to move your hands, how to use your voice. But what they often don't know is you have to find that passion within yourself first. You got to enjoy being there. It's not a game of saying, oh, got to speak fast. Oh, got to speak slow. Oh, got to move my hands here. Sure, that is okay as a fallback strategy. But your primary strategy is get that emotion yourself. So a lot of the work in building your talk is connecting with that as well, right? So just to share with you, when people come to you, you have advice, and often they don't know what they need. And I think Henry Ford said it well, if you ask people what they want more horses or faster horses, but he gave them the car, right? And you can do that too. So your customers or whoever you work with, if you give them what they don't know they need, I mean, you're going to be rewarded well. And that's why you put your expertise in, but you got to build it up. So that's the struggle part. If you imagine the compass, north, people, basics, E, the emotional part, S, the struggle, and you go deeper in the layers. Now, the W is, of course, wishes. What do they really need? That's how you answer their need to the struggle, right? That could be your framework. That could be your solution, the practical nuts and bolts, the mindset shift, the change that you have. So when you get around that, it's your preparation, knowing people from a human perspective and a more content perspective in terms of struggle and the wishes they have, the solutions. I hope that makes sense. Give me a little thumb up, Natalia and Adam. I just see a few of you, if that kind of makes sense. Yeah, cool, man. I'm not seeing everyone, even though we have a lot of people here today. Oh, so good. Getting a lot of thumbs up there. So great. We can keep the energy up, even though it is online. Amazing. Now, in terms of building your talk, one of the most important things, and I see a lot of people make mistake on this is key, is you got to start with a purpose. Like so many meetings die because you don't start with a purpose. And we know from research, if the purpose is clear and people buy into that, it is motivational. It sparks dopamine. People want to listen to that. But if you ever been in a meeting and say, oh, good to be here today, so let's figure out what the next steps are in our sales process or in our construction of this building, whatever it is, people don't connect because there's no purpose. Oh, why we're meeting here today. So if you take a basic thing like computers, like Apple, I think they're pretty good. And not that I'm an Apple guy or anything promoting that, but they have this message. We believe in radical innovation and passionate people. We bring together the best designers and the best engineers, and we just happen to make computers, iPhones, iPads. Would you like to buy one? So it's a little bit more inspirational than if you say, hey, we make the best computers and we bring together the best designers. Would you like to buy one? There's not really that purpose. There's behind the message. There's like, hey, passion people is a radical innovation and so forth. So from now on, always do the why first, and then you do the how and the what. There's a great TED Talk by Simon Sinek. It's called Start With Why. So if you want to dive deeper into that, you can look into that. I would say that's a really, really good talk. Thank you, Marcella, for the heart there. So that's the B, build your talk. Now, the next one is connection. So as you heard, I started with a story. There are a lot of different ways you can connect, but the best way to connect is often through a story. And a lot of people put on like the speaking armor and they think, hey, I'm the expert. So you got to get up there on stage and share how brilliant you are. But what happens if I start off saying, I am incredibly good? I have a lot of people that book me, and blah, 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 all my accolades. You'd probably be thinking, yeah, he's probably successful. Would you buy from me? Next. It's all good? Good. So would you then connect with me? No, you probably wouldn't. So how you connect with people is through vulnerability, through mistakes you made in your life. So, maybe some of you are struggling or not 100% comfortable with public speaking. I don't think even anyone is, unless you're a total sociopath or whatever, because it is tough. I've been doing this for 10 years. I still get a little bit nervous, which is normal, but you connect through a story. So I tried to make a story and say, hey, I used to struggle with this. This was painful for me. I sucked at this. I was bad. And then I said, hey, I'm no different than you. I just happen to have spent a lot of time on this. So we connect through vulnerability. We connect through similarity. Those are the key points. We don't connect, at least not initially, through, hey, you are amazing. You're the best, right? Maybe we do that later and say, wow, that was pretty amazing that person went through all of that So, the best leaders, they go first by sharing things that was maybe a concern or a fear or a failure. We don't need to be that polished. And again, if I should really give you a nice reference to this, easy to digest and easy to see, it's Brené Brown. Her talk on vulnerability is great. It just went through the roof when she came out with it. She'd been giving speeches and talks for years. But that talk where she talked about vulnerability, mistakes she made, she just uploaded. She couldn't even believe it. And she said, like, it's on YouTube. It's just like views, it just kept going up and up and up. Like something's got to be wrong here, she thought. And today, I think she's in the top 5 of the most seen TED Talks. So if you ever want to be a better leader, connect more with people, consider sharing a story where you maybe made a mistake. You can think about your first times where you were struggling. And yeah, that gives you a little bit of permission to brag afterwards, so I would say connect through a great story. Now, so that's the C. We are A, anxiety. With B, build you talk. With C, connect through stories. Now, delivery is really also a great tool. The human mind is amazing. We don't need a lot. Then we are all of a sudden right there. So just a few tools and techniques. We get things through our senses, create the pictures. So when I shared the story with you in the beginning, I'm sitting there looking right into the other seat. Boom, you've been in an airplane before. You don't need a lot. I said SAS. Most of you will know SAS. It's not a huge airplane company, but maybe there's a little bit picture of an airplane and me sitting right there in the seat. And I'm sitting right there. So that's my way of trying to create a picture. If I didn't do it, I did a bad job. But if you were somehow imagining me or someone else or yourself in an airplane, I kind of succeeded. So create pictures. Just find 1 or 2 things you see. That's usually more than enough. And their picture will be different than what you were. But it doesn't matter. You get the mind going. Where people die is when you have the wall of text in the meeting and you're like, no pictures created. Or you read it and you got to spend a ton of energy to get it right. So create pictures. The other thing you want to do is there's only one way to get into your mind. And people want to know what you're thinking. So you can say, oh, I was really nervous, right? That's one way, but it's not that effective. But you can also do like I did, share a thought. My mind was racing. I was thinking, do I have too many slides? Do I have too few slides? Will anyone even care what I have to say? Those were my thoughts. So if you want to bring people into your story or into your mind, the place we can't get into, it's just saying, I was thinking. And then you share that thought. Boom, you have a little pause before. It's the delivery pause. I was thinking. Bam, bam, bam. Wow, you stand out. Rather than, oh, I was nervous. That is the intellectual, the abstract way of doing it. And the last tip I want to give you in terms of delivery is just acting it out. Now, it's a little bit harder here online, but if you're in a physical setting, you can step over here like, wow, maybe that would be Copenhagen in my story, or airplane. Oh, this would be Singapore. Oh, I share my story, come back, I'm over here in Copenhagen. So you can move around on the stage wherever you're at. It's a little bit harder, obviously, in a physical setting. Now, in a way to use your body as well, if it's an online setting like today, is step back a little bit, have a nice camera, and actually get the arms up a little bit more than might be normal, because you create some sort of energy into the frame. So if I'm presenting like this, it gets more boring. I know it feels kind of weird for most people to get them up a little bit, but that creates that dynamic. So the delivery is really, really important to do that. And the final thing I want to give you is the expert system. So you don't need a lot. Today we have a lot of tools to develop expert systems. So E is the expert positioning system. One thing you can do is simply just draw like a triangle. If any one of you know Tony Robbins, probably the most famous speaker, he's big. Anyway, he's a motivational speaker and does a lot of other things. Like he will stand in a stadium with 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 people, and they come there 12 to 16 hours for a full week, and they're like jumping around and crazy. He draws a triangle, and in the middle he writes state. What's your state? How are you? And then he writes the three things. Okay, it's focus, it's your language, it's your physiology, and that's a system. And they'll be like, wow, that's a model. So all you used to have a triangle. You can make other shapes as well. Or another way to have an expert system is just having letters like mine, ABCDE. Nobody has that system within speaking. That means I'm a little bit of an expert. Oh, would you like to know that system? So that positions yourself. You could also have other systems. I have other systems with the same letter. So that could be the 5S to structure your talk, or it could be, whatever it is. You can get creative. And how you do it is obviously you figure out what do they need, and then you can maybe write about. Then you tap it into ChatGPT, some other system, and it sparks out either the same letters or a fancy word. Now, the word should obviously be something that makes sense, right? So if you're speaking about public speaking, you don't want to have a word like banana, right? I have a system that's called START. How do you start your talk? I have one that's called the 7 C's for storytelling. The 7 C's you gotta have if you want to master effective storytelling. That is one way you can position yourself. Now, the other one, or hundreds of ways, obviously, is through social proof. There's nothing better than having other people share how good you are. Imagine this, you're out and about, you meet someone and says, we have a successful product, people like it, they're enthusiastic about it, we create great results. You could probably be interested, but if someone down the road, you just meet, hey man, that coaching session, blew my mind. That was amazing. I went home with new insights, and really it changed my mindset of thinking. That works probably somewhere between 100 to 1,000 times better because it's someone else. So an easy way is for you just get a few references on LinkedIn or a Trustpilot. You don't need 100. Most people think, oh, I got to have a lot of them. 5 to 10 is really more than enough to do that. So social proof, you could also do it in your talks. So if I'm on a sales call, but also on stage, it could be if you're talking, I would like to share how we did this for another client of ours that is in a somewhat similar situation to you. And you say, boom, and then you share that other client, maybe if that's okay, right? They work for that company. You didn't say it directly. So I could say if I'm working with people, and a lot of times I work with engineers, construction engineers, civil engineers. Would you like to hear how we've done it for XYZ companies? A similar thing. And like, oh yeah. So I'm not shoving it down their throat. You do it a little bit more eloquently. That's social proof. And the final one I want to give you in the expert positioning system here is scarcity. Now, back in the days before I joined university, I remember one event. I was living in Florence in Italy. It's like my sabbatical year after high school. And I was standing in the queue with my friend. And it was quite a long queue. And I'm like, hey, this is going to be a busy night in here. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then we waited there, I don't know, half an hour, 40 minutes, something like that. And we get in. And to my surprise, I see there were not that many people in there. I'm like, oh, okay. They are trying to make this urgency or scarcity that it's a highly attractive place to get into. So there's a mixture of things that are going on there. There's a little bit of social proof. People are queuing up as well. It's got to be attractive, but it also signals it's only for the few people. So if you're always available, then people won't book you. So if I send an email, and there's nothing wrong in that, I would rather suggest a few times and say, I'm available on Tuesday, these 2 hours, Friday here or here, even if I potentially have a little bit more time, because there's some sort of scarcity in that. And you can then do that as well. And you can combine all the methods. So it's not just what you bring, it's also how people perceive it, because what is the truth? It's what they perceive. So how do you become really good as a speaker, connecting with people? We're just going to recap, and then we're going to go over to the Q&A. I'm excited to hear what questions you have. So the first is really anxiety, reappraise it, think this is going to be great, this is going to be amazing. Yes, it might be a little bit of lying at first, but then you get to it. B, build your talk. Think about what's important for them. Get to know them emotionally, and what their challenges are and what they really need. If you give them that, they're going to be way happy. Connect through stories. Be vulnerable first. You don't need to be perfect all the time, especially when you can share a few stories, and then do the delivery. Make people see pictures and use ways to position yourself indirectly as an expert. And with that said, I just have a few slides in the very beginning for how we can connect together. But other than that, I just would like to take a lot of questions. Hopefully some of you felt inspired and are eager to know more. So the floor is all yours. And I don't know if you have your Marcus to
Yeah, so I would suggest that we do it by raising your hands, and then let's see how many questions we have, and then we can orchestrate that. But please just raise your hand, and then we take them in a row. Yeah. So Adam, please.
Hello.
I don't
Thank
know.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is really, really good, very useful information there. Thank you very much for that, Oscar. One question that immediately came to my mind is, a lot of us, I guess, still work hybrid. So what is the difference between commanding the room when you are physically in a room versus when you are through a screen, just like now?
Yeah, so there is a difference. Physically, it's a little bit easier to read the body language. So there's a little bit delay here when we're online. So when you got to command a room in a webinar like this, you have to be a little bit more enthusiastic. You got to be a little bit more, and some people say over the top, but the camera kills a little bit of the energy. So I would go more in, and the biggest challenge for most people is not that they're too much, that they're too little. That would be my answer.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Great question. Thanks.
Yeah, Chris, I think.
Yes. Hello, Oscar. Thank you so much for the lovely talk. I do follow many of the people you mentioned. I do like Simon Sinek. I'm a huge fan. Read all of his books. I wanted to ask you, in general, well, it's a two-part question. Who do you think are the best communicators? And the second part is, given the framework or sometimes the sectors or markets that we work in, do you think there's some limiting factors regarding communications because of some political correctness, some things that are meant to be said in a certain way? For example, if you're pitching ideas to an investor, they are, they love the 12 slides, they love a format, but I think it kills spontaneity. It kills the ability to connect. I don't know if you understood the second part.
Yeah, so first question is best speaker, right? And the next one was a little bit, are the differences to who you present to?
Yes, best speakers in general.
Okay,
right?
So first of all, the best speaker is the one that you find the best, the one that you resonate with. I've been at conferences where I was like, did you like that person as a speaker? Oh, I loved her. Someone said. I was like, wow, the other one, that really blew my mind. So the best speaker is the one for you. But I would say maybe as a general thing, and I would say Tony Robbins, because what can he do? He can change the state of people. They come there, I just seen him on videos, not online or physical, and they're about to break up their marriage, and all of a sudden, they reconnect. He can do that so quickly. He can change the state of people. And that's what being a great speaker is about, is changing people's state, their belief. It's easy to transfer information, but we can do that in a book or in a report but the speaking gets the emotional part. So I'd say, he's great at that, but at the end of the day, it's who you believe is the best that you connect with, and we're all different. So the other one is, it depends on who you're talking to. Some people, if I'm presenting this one, hey, let's get going right away. Other people want to connect a little bit more, a little small talk first. So it depends on who you are. If you're speaking to an investor, like you said, right? What would be important there? You probably come in with low status. Hey, I can have lots of options. So your job is to raise your status, right? It's kind of like if you go to a job interview. Some people perceive, oh, I'm the one that's begging to get the job. No. You have to show why I should pick this job as well. So you raise, hey, you don't need to be more than that, but just equal, and you can do that through different ways of providing, if not directly, at least indirectly, that you are valuable, that you have other options, that you have other investors. The train is going now, and if you want to scale, maybe this is the option, and you obviously have to have a good business case to do that. Does that help, Chris?
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks for the questions.
I think Noor, you were next.
Yes. Well, thank you for your talk and the valuable tools. I'm just wondering, are there any tools that after building the talk to make it sound more natural, less mechanic? Is it just practice, or are there any system that can be used?
Yeah. So some people have this myth. Let me not practice too much because then I will sound mechanical. Yeah. If you do a few reps, you will sound a little bit mechanical, but you got to know it so well that you just know it. Boom. You don't need to know it by words, but you got to know that it comes out. So step one is practice a lot. The other one is you got to find that passion within you. So if you come to B, I'm thinking, wow, this is so important. So many people are mistaken here. They lose their audience. You got to know this. If you got to catch them. I somehow got to find that emotion within me. So it's just natural that enthusiasm, that enjoyment comes out. Now, there can be other states you can be in, but that could be the concern state. Now, this is a challenge for a lot of people, and a lot of people go wrong here, and that's such a pity. Then I connect with that, right? That emotion. So you need to find what's the emotion you want to convey, right? And then that comes out as more natural. So a part of the job is really connecting and finding out what sort of emotions do you want at certain parts of your talk, and then practicing it a lot. Is that a help, Nora?
Yeah,
great question. Love that.
Adam?
Me again. Another question from me is that there's an often cited pearl of wisdom, which is know your audience.
Yeah.
How important is that? I'm guessing very.
It's the most important, because that's what everything starts with. You got to know them. So if I run a workshop, I always will do a lot of work beforehand. I will have one of the things I'll do is design meetings, and that could be with the organizer, the one that knows the audience. So if I got to get to know them, what are their challenges, what are their concerns. Sometimes I'll also say, can I interview a few of the people, maybe a junior in the team, a more senior, or whatever it is. So I really know what's important to them. It helps me to know what is important, but it also helps me during the talk, because before the talk, they have shared with me what is important. So it's very hard to say, hey, you didn't deliver on this asker. Sure, there could be something with the delivery and so forth, but at least content-wise, I should be fairly safe on that. So it's the most important.
Cool. Thank you.
Yes, Marcela?
Thank you. I have a question in line with your answer to Chris. You mentioned something that I see very often, which is that sometimes it's hard for us to position ourselves equally to the other party, especially if there's someone with a higher rank and it's a more difficult or complex conversation you want to address. So which tips would you recommend if we have a conversation with someone with a higher rank, to try to ease us into stepping up and feeling that we're at the same level so that the conversation can go through a different lens?
Yeah, well, I think first to recognize there is obviously a difference if there's a rank, but I would ask, certain questions. What would success look like for you? What could create value for you? Or how would this project be a success for you? So you really get to know what is needed. So, and if you can then show them that, again, if you take the job and if you ask them, okay, what would success look like for you in this job? And you go those three and say, yeah, I think I could credentials. Then you also ask them, okay, why would this be a great job? Or you can ask that person, why would someone like me be relevant to work on this project? Then they kind of have to position you a little bit, right? You turn it over to them. So those could be ways. But why me? Well, why would you even? Why did you ask me to come here? Or why did you take the sales call? Well, great website, blah blah blah. All of a sudden, they're halfway through, convince themselves that they should work with me. So that could be one way. Yeah, more eloquently, indirectly, to do that. Does that help a little bit? Obviously, it's a huge topic.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
Nice. Great question.
Anyone else? Otherwise, I could maybe also ask a question while the others think about questions. I think, Esker, there can be different purposes with different meetings, right? And I think you also were touching upon it a little bit already, but that's actually one of the things I thought about lately. How would this sometimes affect either your preparation or also approach, right? And just to mention a few things on my mind, and then of course you're very welcome to say what kind of purposes you think of and how to do that. But to be honest, I think I've been in many meetings where it was actually not totally clear, or at least the people were not on the same page. Is it a decision meeting? Is it like a kickoff? Is it a brainstorm?
Yeah.
Do we already sense conflicts we hope we can resolve during the meeting or after the meeting? And do you get my point? I think there can be very different kinds of meetings, right? So
there's so many meetings, and sometimes when we run our courses on charismatic leadership, that's one of the big key takeaways. It's like, oh, I wish everyone just had that section where you talked about making the purpose clear, both in the invitation, but also in the initial part of the meeting, because people are sitting like you and like, why are we here? What's the purpose? Oh, I thought it was this or that. So, so your question is, what can you do, right? To give you a few, the meeting, I would probably send out an invitation before, like what's the agenda and what's the purpose of it. I would write purpose of the meeting, how we're going to do it. Well, this is the agenda. What is the outcome? The outcome should be, we should decide whether we go with solution A, B, or C. And then of course, ask them if you have any suggestions or add-ons to this, feel free to add it. Has anyone ever done that in history? No one has ever done that. That means you're in charge even before the meeting has started, because you have given out the agenda. You have given them permission to add in things. So that could be one thing, but I would always say, what's the next step? So a lot of times I also work with startups, and they make that mistake that in their pitch, they want to sell their product or the service, or make people invest in it. And if people don't invest in your company after a 2-minute pitch, no matter how good it is, yes, you can find a lion's den or whatever, but in the real world, outside of that, things happen and say, oh, that sounds interesting. Shouldn't we take a meeting or a coffee together? And I would like to hear more. Like, it's kind of like you go on a first date, you don't throw yourself, hey, marry me, right? So always think, what's the next step? What could you achieve in that meeting, I think, and not be overly ambitious, which most people are, I would say. Does that help a little bit?
I think that was very good. Thanks.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
Any other questions? Don't be shy. Now we have the opportunity, so please go ahead.
Yeah. We still 5 people, I see. So
otherwise, maybe, Esker, while we wait, if there is 1 or 2 more questions, it could also be an opportunity maybe for you, if you have any wrap up, to maybe do that. And maybe then if 1 more question pops up, we could take that ad hoc, if that's okay.
Totally.
Yeah.
So I will just, share my screen and then I'll just show you just a few slides so you can connect with me. Really, I'll just give you my contact information here. So this is just a little bit about what we do. I mean, I talked about it, but it's a lot of different things. But it's all related to positive relations. So that could be how to pitch yourself. It can be how to be a charismatic leader, how to make people follow you. It can be how to negotiate. And I tell you, your life is going to be different. Also privately, if you get good at negotiation. I have 3 kids, and I tell you, my life changed when I started understanding this. Not that I can get my will every time with the kids, but it does help a lot. Being an effective communicator, we talk a little bit about that, and personal leadership is huge. So, I mean, I'm actually inviting people here today for, if you want, it's just an option for only 5 people, for a discovery call, where we spend 30 minutes, we go through what are some key areas of what you want to develop, and we go in and look at what's really the cause that you're not there. I'm not giving you the tools. We're just discovering why are you not where you need. That's even half the success, even maybe more. So we do a 30-minute. You're welcome to book me, or just send me an email here, or text me on SMS by my mail or phone number. And otherwise, you can find me on LinkedIn. It's just look and find Asger Lindholt. So obviously, I would love to connect with all of you. And if you're interested to know more, just reach out to me for a discovery call.
That's amazing. Thanks, Esker. I think Adam might have had a follow-up question. No, not anyway. Okay. Simone? Ramon? Jose?
Yeah. Shall I go?
Yes.
Yeah, Asger. So I wanted to ask you, because it's clear to me that the conversation becomes way more engaging when you're passionate about the topic and you've got the purpose behind it. But how can you still make a meeting or a presentation engaging when you're not really aligned with it? Like, say you're enrolled on a project that you don't really like, or your manager told you you've got to give this workshop to your client, and it's something that you're not really passionate about, but still you want to make it successful. Any tips on how to still make it a good one?
Yeah. So I get you. I mean, it's a challenge. If it's boring, you're not interested in it, but you got to dig deeper. So back in the days when I was a high school teacher, right, there would be some students there looking into the computer screen, playing computer games, whatever. I still had to find out what I liked about that kid. What was going in his mind? Why you come up here every day? You play computer games, there's got to be something. You got to be curious on you. And most things can become somewhat interesting if you really dive into it. Maybe you can find some, could you connect with those people when you present even the most boring thing? Maybe you could. I think you could. So I would try to really dig deeper. Again, do you have to give a speech to someone that's 25 years, you worked in a company, and you don't know the person? Go learn something about him. Go ask people, who is this Peter guy? Oh, he's the one that welcomes all the new interns. No one has time for that, but he does that. Oh, you connect on that. So I'll go on a little bit discovery. That's maybe not perfect answer that you're looking for, but I hope it helps.
It does. It's great. Thank you so much.
Was there one more, Simone, or you maybe withdrew? But yeah, I think if there is no more questions, maybe we can also wrap up the call. I think it was, at least for me, very, very inspirational. Asger, thanks so much also for your time. And I think it's a very great opportunity that some of our members can reach out to you afterwards now. And of course, we will also share the slides And the recording, I'm not sure if that will already be done tomorrow, but in the near future, when it's all ready, we will share that with everyone. And yeah, let's stay connected, right? I think this is a topic which is very, very important to all of us. And actually, I think after hearing you talk about it, sounds like much more fun to me. So actually, I want to give a presentation now, right? So, but yeah, so let's see. But thanks everyone. Have a great evening, and see you hopefully another time.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.